Hey, Matthew. Let's see. Good question here, man. I'll catch up tomorrow morning on my run. Yeah, quick question. How many kilometers do you replace your daily trainers? Yeah, I mean, I do the same as you, Matthew. I mean, I run in trainers for several hundred miles before I even consider changing them out. It just depends on how you're feeling on your training runs. But yeah, like you said, I mean, a lot of these shoes can hold up 500 to 1,000 plus kilometers before replacing them. One of the best training shoes I think I've ever had in terms of just for trainers is the Nike Zoom Tempo Percent. It's like I think it has a carbon plate in it, I believe, but it's super cushion, a lot of cushion. And I've had those shoes. I use it, been running in those shoes for several hundred miles. But I mean, I usually go 500 to 600 miles plus before I even consider moving into another shoe. Again, it just depends on the athlete, of course, and how you're feeling in training. But um, yeah, like you said, I mean, a lot of these trainers can hold up for several, 100 to over 1,000 plus kilometers. So again, it just depends on how you're feeling, and if you feel a difference in the way you're running, and obviously the way the shoe looks. If it's not as cushioned anymore, then of course change them out. So yeah. Hey, Lean, good to see you, man. Hope everything's going well next over the pond there, man. Yeah, definitely the changing out of shoes. Yeah, that's definitely every athlete's going to be different, but some athletes would like to change out their shoes about every few hundred miles or so before trying out a new pair. But again, it's individual. So hey, Kenji, I sir have 10 kilometers May 5th, so my tempo run for 10 kilometers is 3:18 kilometer pace. So I can run. Wait, I have a 10 kilometer May 5th, so my tempo run for 10 kilometers is 3:18 per K. Can I run shoot, I'm trying to, without that emblem here, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking here. Can I run the distance at 3:10? Oh, at 3:10 K pace. Of course. I mean, why couldn't you, if you go into a race tempo, a race tapered with some competition, and you're able to go out there right now and do 10 kilometers at 3:18 kilometer pace by yourself? Yes, the likelihood of you being able to hold 3:10 kilometer pace for those 10 kilometers is definitely very likely. You're obviously in phenomenal shape. What is it? 3:18 kilometer pace. I think that's 5:19 mile pace. So you are in very good shape. Yeah, there's no reason why I see you not going under 3:10 kilometer pace for a race. If you go into it tapered and you go into a race that's very high quality, and you have some pacers and some other athletes that you can really draft off and run with, yeah, you definitely can. Hey, Maureen, coach, great videos. I would love a video of you breaking down the coaching methods of the top world coaches. Yeah, great question. Okay. Yeah. Um, I will definitely do that. It's a good topic for sure. Um, yeah, a lot of the top coaches, at least the two that mentored me, three actually, Lisa Rainsberger, 1985 Boston Marathon champion, and then the Jack Hazen when I was at Malone. Jack's been there like 54, 55 years now. And then Dr. Vigil, they all have similar training principles. But when I mentioned like what Dr. Vigil says about the top runners in the world running about 35 to 40% of their weekly mileage at anaerobic threshold or faster, okay, that is not the norm. That is not going to work for most athletes. So it's just it gives you an idea of what the top runners are how they're training. And a lot of these, if Sweat Elite is another great YouTube channel that has a lot of training sessions over in Kenya. But if you see those training sessions and how they're doing their long runs, they are not relaxed long runs. Okay, it's not like they're going out there running 8-minute mile pace. And granted, they're at 7,000 feet up in a 10 Kenya, but these athletes are running low fives per mile. 315 to 320 kilometer, 330 kilometer pace. They're not relaxed runs, and this is over hillier, very hilly terrain as well. Um, yeah, yeah. Renato Canova is also one of the world's top. I mean, he's phenomenal. Canova's principles. I mean, he likes to do 10 times 1600 meter. He has a lot of his athletes doing the 10 times 1600 meter reps on the track. And, a lot of the videos I've seen of Canova, yeah, he has those top guys running like 430 to 435 per 1600 with minimal rest in between each one of those reps. And again, it's just a progression. Those athletes don't just jump into that. But it's a good indication just to see what these top coaches and top runners, what they're doing. Kenji, I mean, if the guys go 310 pace, is it okay to follow them? Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's outside of your capability. If you're doing 318 kilometer pace tempo runs in training, okay, because again, tempo runs, it's slightly slower than your anaerobic threshold, but right around the same effort. But if you can do that by yourself, and you see some athletes going at 310, as long as you feel confident and rested going into the race, yeah, you definitely can. I'm going to read a little bit more about Ramon here. Do you know, looked him up. Yeah, training seems really solid. 6-month build-up, starting with the fundamental phase, moving into specific training, then a special block. Yes, that's how he does it. Yeah, Canova is, again, very similar. Dr. Jack Daniels, Dr. Joe Vigil, Coach Hayes, and all those guys have the same philosophy of like, hey, if you really want to run fast, depending on your goals, most athletes are trying to run very fast over these chosen distances. You have to get outside your comfort zone. It's not. There are some runners, like I mentioned in the past, there are some runners that can do very well on just easy mileage and just high volume and being very consistent with that volume over a long period of time. But the faster you're trying to run marathon distance on the track, you really have to work on your speed. I mean, this is what these top runners are doing as well. And yeah, it's a must. Lean ran 10K race today, strong headwind, and ran terribly at 37:22. That's still awesome though, Lean. I was in big trouble 4 kilometers into the race. And still feel sick now from it. Hopefully it was just a bad run and the wind slowed me. Yeah, absolutely, Lean. That's all it was, man. I mean, you can't control what the conditions are going to be like, but to drop a 37:22 in a strong headwind, and being over there in England too, man. I mean, I lived in Belgium for almost 2 years, and that part of the world, yeah, as you know, it does. There's a lot of clouds and a lot of rain over there, and a lot of times you get that headwind as well. So kudos to you, Lean, for dropping that type of time in those conditions. And it's hard, like you said, man. You're in big trouble. 4K when you're early on in a race and you feel like that, man. Is it tough? It's a slog in those last few kilometers to hang in there, But well done, man. Maybe I'm running easy runs too slow. Not necessarily, Lean. It could be just maybe you needed an additional couple days of recovery going into that race. It's a lot of outside factors that play a part in that. So just use this as hey, this was a solid workout. I got a really strong physiological boost from this race. The next 2 to 3 days, jog, take it easy for a few days so you can recover from this, and then give yourself 3 days and then start your next workout. But this is a great step in the right direction, Lean. Rain, he progresses the 10 times 1600 meter to 10 times 2K. Yeah. I think you watched the same video I did where he was mentioning that. And again, those athletes don't just start off doing 10 times 1600 meter reps. I mean, they too, like us, have to have a starting point. Maybe it's like 3 1600 meter reps or 2 to 3 1600 meter reps. And then they gradually build the duration. And then, like you said, as Canova said too, branching that out to 2Ks. So, hey, Ghost, tune in, Coach. Thanks for everything else. Still resting after Boston, starting my training for Chicago very soon. Congrats, man. Yeah, Chicago's going to be great. Hopefully you get a nice cool day there and hopefully calm. Chicago, you just never know. It's like Boston too. I mean, I've run Chicago, haven't ran Boston, but I do know about Chicago, and Boston, from what I've heard, is too. It's just you just never know with the conditions. The races that I've raced where the conditions are, it seems like every year it's the same. It's calm, it's cool. Is the Indianapolis Monumental Marathon in November and the California International Marathon in Sacramento in December. Those two races are always very, very calm for the most part. At least the years I've run, I can't recommend those two particular races enough. But Chicago is great too. Could I go for a sub 3:30 marathon in a month if I just ran sub 43 minutes for 10 kilometers? Good question, is it possible? Yes, it is possible. I want to see something. I want to look at your current fitness right now. Again, we can look at these calculators all the time, but again, it's not going to, they can't factor in your mental power, your recovery, your taper phase. But based off your 43-minute 10K, let me see, a 6:55 mile pace, or let's see, 4:18K pace, that 43-minute 10K is equivalent to a 3:18 marathon. Okay, so I do think that is, based on your current fitness, I think that you're capable of that, yes. A sub 3:30, 8-minute mile pace, 4:59 kilometer pace, yes. Just go into it rested. I wouldn't do any more than a 3-mile run at goal marathon pace 4 days out going into that marathon. Make sure you're hydrating well, sleeping well, the full 7 days leading into that marathon, and then do as best you can to be conservative in the first half and run as strong as you can in the second half. Like I say in other videos, run the tangents. Don't run and do anything more than you need to in that race. Hydrate well, pay attention to your nutrition for sure. But based off your fitness right now, you're definitely in good enough shape to run under 3:30. Hey, Aaron, I have a hamstring strain since Wednesday. When I'm healthy again, will I lose my running fitness in the 400 meter, or will I still be able to keep it? No, you'll still be able to keep that since Wednesday. Yeah, I mean, literally, you could basically take a week off of training and not lose any fitness, not in 7 days. If it's 2 weeks, you're going to start losing a little bit of fitness, but you can gain it back very quickly. But yeah, with the strain since Wednesday, make sure that you continue to do what you're doing, which I'm sure is icing, doing a mixture, getting. I would recommend too, dry needling or acupuncture. Make sure, and a combination of icing, obviously, and recovery. Make sure you're hydrating well, staying off your feet the best you can. But like I said, you could take 7 days off and still be relatively in great shape and still not lose any fitness in that. Kenji, my friend told me tempo pace should 10 seconds slower than goal race pace. Is that true? Yeah, that is actually, because Dr. Beal always says that we race right around or slightly faster than anaerobic threshold pace. And tempo pace is usually about 10 seconds slower than anaerobic threshold pace. So we always get caught up in, and I do too over the years, you say, well, I did my tempo run. You mean your lactate threshold? No, they're different. Tempo pace you can hold for, more out to around 60 minutes, sometimes further. Whereas anaerobic threshold, it's more 20 minutes to 40 minutes, around that range. Again, it's going to be different for each athlete, but yeah, your friend's right. Old J running, hey man, thoughts on the Galloway walk run method? I'm training to try and qualify for Boston, and even though I'm not going to use the method during the race, I feel the method has helped me stay injury free. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Galloway is phenomenal athlete. Back in the day when he was competing, great coach. The walk run method, of course. I mean, if you're just getting into fitness and you're you're just building your aerobic base, and you're like, again, you're just trying to start getting into the consistent action of getting out the door and doing that. I think there is definitely a place for that, for sure. Doing a little bit of walking and running until you can get to the point where you can run nonstop. It's like every athlete, well, I mean, whether a 210 athlete or a 410 marathoner, if they're out of shape, they're out of shape, and they all have to start the same way, and it's not fun in the early, weeks. And sometimes you do have to do a mixture of that, get accustomed to running 5 minutes and then walking for 2 minutes, running for 5 minutes, and start off that way before you. And like you said, it definitely has its place for ensuring that you're injury free and you're not trying to get too into the weeds in your anaerobic work and trying to run too fast too soon, or if you're running and you're not in very good shape and your heart rate starts to spike, if you want to run at like 140 heart rate and and you see you're at 161 and you're having a hard time with it, stop for a few minutes, get your heart rate back down under 125, and then start again, and try to stay in that zone, that 135 to 150 zone. And again, it's going to be age heart rates, as you all know, it's complicated too. I mean, if it's hot out, it's going to obviously affect your heart rate. Running up hills, running down hills, it's going to spike and it's going to go down. If you're running down the hills, it's going to go up if you're up the hill. So yeah, good question though, old Jay. Therapy grind. Hey man, Boston 04, 85 degrees, 98% humidity. My first Boston weather. Anything goes. Absolutely. Yeah, that is rough. 85 degrees and 98. Yeah, I totally hear you. I am not a heat weather runner at all. I'm 100% a cold weather runner. If it's like anything really over 65 degrees, I have a hard time racing. But if it's like, I prefer like 50 degrees, between 35 degrees and 55 degrees. That's my happy spot, But yeah, I was at the 2007 Chicago Marathon where they actually closed down the race, and it wasn't even that hot. It wasn't 85 degrees and 98% humidity, but it was rough. And needless to say, I mean, that was a rough race. But Antonio, hey Antonio, hey coach, I ran a 1909 5K PB on a track last Tuesday. Congrats, nice job. 1909 is no joke. Nice work. Aiming to break 40 minutes in the 10K this Tuesday. Any tips on navigating the last 2 to 3 miles? Yeah, and you're capable of doing this. You definitely can. You're to run 1909. It's going to be a task for sure, because you're trying to, doing 2 back-to-back under, you're needing 1959 for both of those Ks. So play it cool in that first 5K. I mean, I would not go any faster than about 20. I'd aim for around 2015 to 2030 through the first 5K, and then try to run that negative split. Make sure you don't pass up the aid stations. Obviously, it's 10K. It's going to be over quick, but don't pass up those aid stations. Make sure you're hydrating well. The last 2 to 3 miles is going to be, you really want to be picking up the pace. Stay as in control as you can, as confident and calm as you can, and as relaxed as you can that last 2 to 3 miles. But if you play it conservative and you go out a little bit less aggressive in that first 5K, really hammer that second 5K. I mean, if you can go out in 2015, 2020, around that range, and come back with like a 1940, 1935, then you have definitely the capability of breaking 40 minutes. That 1909 is definitely indicative of your capability to do it for sure. 4 days out from that 10K, I'd probably do 2 miles at goal pace, at goal 10K pace, no more than that, like 1 mile warm up, 2 miles, just enough just to remind your legs. Actually, not even 2. I would just do 1 mile at goal 10K pace, 1 mile cool down, very light workout, just enough to remind your legs what you're planning to do. And then the 3 days leading into that, just nice, easy jogging, doing a few strides. And then that entire week, like just like the marathon, just make sure you're hydrating well and getting plenty of carbs leading into the race. And I think you'll break 40 minutes. Hey, Lucas, let's see. How do I deal with being injured? Yeah. Seeing other competitors do well, knowing you can't run for a while. Great question, Lucas. And I have been injured over the years several times too. I mean, the best thing you can do is just know that your body is going to heal. There will always be other races, and know that it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying that you're so overly stressed about this, but I know it's frustrating when you can't race and you feel like, you're doing everything you can. Maybe you're getting physiotherapy and you're doing all the other things, icing, and still you're not healing as quickly as you want. I think right now, just enjoy the downtime, because you will be back out on the roads. You will be back out on the track working out, just like your competitors. And just know that at the end of the day, it's just running. That's all it is. And you're going to do fine, Lucas. I mean, all the world's top athletes, everybody's had to deal with that at times, and it is frustrating. And I understand. I may have had 3 knee surgeries. I've had a ruptured plantaris tendon. I've had shin splints, all types of different things, setbacks that threw me out of my training for several months at times. Piriformis syndrome, that took about 8 to 9 months to heal. So just stay calm with it and enjoy the time. If it takes a week to a month off, allow your body to heal up and then get back out there. And I do know it's hard, but just remember, the body always heals, but it heals on its own time. Marianne, Coach, what do you think is the best intensity to work with after building the aerobic base for a few weeks with some 200s? Thoughts on progressing endurance and speed over the next 24 weeks? Yeah, I do think that in terms of intensity, it should be moderately hard going into after you've built your aerobic base. You've been doing some strides, some very light workouts, those 200s, 300s, maybe some fartlek workouts, but I wouldn't go like after that aerobic base building phase. I wouldn't go into extremely hard speed sessions. Just gradual increases in intensity and duration over time is key. Because I mean, it takes so long to get into peak shape, and I think a lot of times if you're trying to go too anaerobic too soon and trying to do too much work at too fast of intensities, it frustrates athletes, and it's a process. When the best coaches say it takes about 28 days for the body to adapt, they're not kidding. I mean, that's 4 weeks. If you're doing a tempo run, you're having a hard time right now doing, say, 6:30 mile pace, and it feels like you're running at 4:30 mile pace. Be patient. It will get better. Don't know if that answers your question, but I do think that you're doing the right thing in terms of building your aerobic base, and you're not doing, if you're doing some 200s, you're doing some light fartlek sessions, maybe 5 to 10, 1 minute hard, 1 minute easy. And then you start into your marathon specific endurance phase, your specific training where you're running at tempo paces at times. You're doing some light VO2 max workouts, but nothing crazy, nothing like doing like 20-mile long runs at half marathon race pace or anything really intense right now. Like you said, just progress into the workouts, and not make sure those workouts aren't too long in the early stages. You want to gradually build into doing like 6 to 10, 1,600 meter reps, for example, like Canova. I'm sure he doesn't start his athletes off the first couple weeks after an aerobic base running that quick and running that many reps, so. Eileen, any tips on training hard this summer, or do we have to accept we will all be slower? Oh man, that's a good one. Any tips on training hard this summer, or do we have to? I don't think you have to accept you're going to be slower. That's for sure. No, I think it's just where you make your money is in the summer. I mean, if it just depends on, if your case, you're not a collegiate athlete, but a lot of athletes that are in high school or college, man, put in the miles in the summer, because if your competition is doing it, you have to be doing it as well if you really want to start jumping levels. But yeah, I don't think we can accept being slow. I mean, it's okay to run slow at times too, but definitely put in your work. Ivan, hey, I'm good to see you, man. Hi, coach. Today I ran 36:32, my time trial 10K at 55 years now with your 10K plan. That is awesome. Dude, you ran a 36:32 at 55? Man, I'm telling you, everybody on the stream, this guy is incredible. Ivan has been a supporter of RunDreamAchieve for many years. He's followed a lot of the different plans that I've created, and yeah, hats off to you, Ivan. That's awesome, man. 36:32. I mean, they're 20 plus year old runners that are trying to run that quick. You did it at 55. Awesome job, man. Well done. OJ running again. Anything to help me train for a 1% downhill gradual decline marathon, considering all I train is flat surfaces here in Florida. You rock. Thanks, man. Last question. What are your thoughts on gels, Meriton or Cisneuro? Since obviously I'm not an elite, does it make sense to carry a handheld with limited electrolyte mix due to heat? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, I mean, when it comes to these races, without a doubt, nutrition plays a vital role. I mean, your hydration, if you're not drinking enough, if you're not taking enough gels, you're not taking enough calories. A lot of times runners will definitely not. I know I made a mistake earlier running marathons, thinking I could run a marathon with very small amounts of fluid and not taking in any gels. That will catch up to you in that race, no matter how fit you are, no matter what you've done in training. If you have not implemented that in your training, that's all I always say, just start dropping water bottles out. In the race, you may not have your own water bottles and you may not have a table where you can grab them. But if you're practicing ingesting some gels during your long runs, you get an idea of how your stomach is going to feel running at faster paces in a race. But to try to run these longer races with little to no fluid and little to no caloric intake, that is a game changer that will ruin your times, especially if you put in all this. We put all this time and effort into these big races. Yeah, gels are a must. I don't think, and the handheld, I would implement it. Why not? Especially if you're if the conditions are hot, for sure. I mean, if it's hot and humid out, even more does it play a part. You have to really adjust your pacing as well, for sure, if those conditions are like that. And you also mentioned anything to help me train for a 1% downhill gradual decline marathon, considering all I train on is flat surfaces here in Florida. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, if you don't have a lot of ups and downs, I mean, it's kind of hard to train for a decline. But that's where, again, really working, strength training, of course, that will assist you, making sure that your core muscles are strong, training at paces that are down. If you're training for, in your case, you're training for the marathon, but if you're spending some time training at your 5K race pace, 10K race pace, running significantly faster than what you're planning on running the marathon, even though it's downhill, that will for sure assist you in some manner, for sure, because again, that marathon race pace is going to be easier for you. You've trained much faster. But yeah, in Florida, and I've spent a lot of time down there too, man. I know there it's flat as a pancake in some places. So it's tough to answer that one, but just do the best you can to make sure you are paying attention to your strength training. Don't be in the gym more than 2 times a week. You only need to be really in the gym once a week. And even in some athletes, they don't even need to be in the gym. You can just do, in your case, you don't have a lot of hills, but the athletes out there that are doing a lot of training on a lot of hills, that in and of itself is a form of strength training. So I think that's definitely important for sure. And making sure your core running muscles are strong. Planks, medicine ball drills, weighted sled drills. If you can get a weighted sled, you can buy those on Amazon, or a parachute, and have those two are definitely worth the investment. Even if, as marathoners, we should always be working on speed. Always be worked on your overall leg speed so you can get faster and get that race pace to feel easier for you. Hey, do you recommend doing a shakeout run the day before a marathon, or how should I train the week leading up to the race? Um, yeah, in most cases, I mean, some athletes do very well with just doing a 15-minute, easy, relaxed jog, not even a run, but just a jog, and doing a 2 to 3 50-meter strides the day before a marathon. Some runners, I've done that. I've done that. I've done it 2 days before the marathon, and I take the day before the marathon off. So again, it just varies from athlete to athlete. How should I train the week leading up to the race? I always talk about, like, in the courses I've made in the training plans, I always talk about doing a 4-mile run or a 3-mile run at goal marathon race pace 4 days leading into your race. It's one last reminder to get your legs moving, not to overly fatigue you in any way, but just it's so short, 3 miles, just nice, solid 3-mile run at goal marathon race pace and close it down. 1-mile jog, 1.6 kilometers, 1.6K kilometer cool down. So nice, 2 miles, altogether 5-mile workout. And then 3 days, again, it's just maintenance jogging at that point. There's literally nothing you can really do in those days, those 3 days leading into the marathon that's going to make a huge amount of difference. Your sleep is critical. Your carb loading, your hydrating well is absolutely essential. So make sure you pay attention to that as well. And if it's going to be extremely hot or humid, adjust your pacing for sure. Adjust your goals a little bit. I know it's hard to do, but do the very best you can, especially in the summer months, man. To try to find races or find goal races that are preferably in the fall. But again, if it's hot and humid, it's okay to, and you're not a hot weather runner like myself. 5K is solid. I mean, a 5K effort is good, but doing like 10-mile races or a half marathon in extreme heat, watch out for that. Or if you're going to do it, make sure you adjust your pacing and pay attention to your nutrition for sure. Let's see here. Lean, I'm looking at your sub 16 5K, 16-week plan. Currently at 16:59. Would you say I'm ready for this, or should I choose a different plan? Yeah, it's a big jump, Lean, but 59 seconds isn't outside of what you're capable of. I think if you find over there in a solid race in Europe that's really competitive, I think your ability to break 16 minutes is definitely there. Just an example, man. There was a guy, one of the athletes on my nephew's team. His PR was what was his PR? He ran 15:21. His PR was 16:30. It was 16:30, and he ran 15:21. So it's just one example. I mean, we can't always look at other athletes, and we're all our own athlete, but it just gives you an indication that, hey, this is possible. There are athletes out there that have a PR, competitive PR like you do, 16:59, that go out there, do a nice solid block of training, 16 weeks, and really focus all of their energy on getting under that pace, getting that sub 16-minute 5K race pace to feel difficult in the last mile, not like the first mile. It's going to hurt regardless, because you're trying to go after not only a super fast time, and you're already competitive, but to make that 59-second drop, it's just, I think it's just a matter of you changing up your strategy. Yes, I do think you can do it. Let's see. Coach, yeah, my pleasure, Ivan. Mark, hey, Coach, do you think we should try to improve aspects of form like knee drive and arm swing mid-run? Or is this something that has to be addressed to the strength room and then let the body optimize movement and do whatever it does naturally? Thanks for the advice. Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer in what Dr. Vigil says. A lot of time he says that, because I didn't do a lot of strength training throughout my own career, but I always did a lot of hill training And if you do a combination of both of those, your form, yes, it's very important to improve those aspects, your knee drive, your overall form when you're running, especially when you're running at faster paces, even when you're running slow at relaxed, easy paces. It's still natural at times to start tensing up, so consciously telling yourself to stay in control and relaxed, even when you're running at slower paces is important, but vital when you're running at faster paces. And a mixture of that. Like I said, you don't need to be in the weight room more than once per week. Once per week is fine. And again, focusing on explosive activities, the box jumps, medicine ball drills, working on strengthening your upper body, that just making sure that those particular aspects of your overall physiology are strengthened so you can be stronger in the race. Obviously, if you're always preach the importance of, based on what I've been taught too, if you want to run faster in these races, if you're running too aerobically too often, it's just going to make you a superior long, slow distance runner. So definitely make sure you're doing enough of that type of training so that, again, there is a physiological adaptation that occurs. But yeah, the knee drive and making sure you're doing form drills, training on doing hill repetitions, those definitely will help you work on your form and just staying as relaxed as you can, pumping your arms. And again, as you're running up the hill, lifting your knees and reminding yourself, stay in control. That definitely goes a long way. Let me see here. I don't miss anybody's questions here. Pit a knife. How should a good taper look like? Shooting for a sub 330. I peaked at 55 miles a week and strength train 1 to 2. Okay, 1 to 2 a week. That's good. That's okay. The taper, everybody has different viewpoints on this. A lot of coaches teach 3-week taper. I've always done a 10-day taper, so I would highly recommend considering doing a 10-day taper. Don't start dropping volume intensity until you get 10 days out. What you don't want to do is start dropping your intensity volume too far out and go into that race feeling flat. And let's see, you're at 55 miles a week. That's solid. Again, going into the week of your race, make sure you're carb loading, make sure you're sleeping well. The 7 days leading into the race, it's natural to have an issue falling asleep the night before. But again, if you've paid attention to that in advance and you've gotten some really good sleep leading up to the race, that will set you up for success as well. But yeah, that's what I would recommend. I would recommend a 10-day taper and see how that feels for you. I think that you'll go into it feeling a lot more rested versus feeling flat. It's another drink I've mentioned it on the stream here. Highly recommend checking these drinks out. Electrolyte, you can find it on Amazon. This stuff is amazing. It has 6 ions. It has sodium, magnesium, calcium, chloride, potassium, and lactate in it, and sweetened with glucose. This is a great recovery drink. I think this is far better than anything I've had, but definitely check this out if you're looking for a sports drink. Let's see. Maureen, great answer. It's really tempting to join the guys on the track at this point. Yeah, of course. I know. I hear where you're coming from for sure. Jax, I just ran 9:58 as a junior. Do I have any chances of running in college? Yes, absolutely, Jax. Well done running 9:58 as a junior too. And you got another year left. Yes, you have chances of running in college. My best 3200 was 9:46, and I got a partial athletic scholarship to Malone University in Canton, Ohio. Jack Hazen's the coach. Well, now he's been there about 55 years now, but now he's kind of more into a mentor role. He's been there for so long, but he's an Olympic coach, Pan American Games coach, one of the best in the world. And I was very fortunate to sign up with him. And as a 4:25 1600 meter athlete, 9:46 high school, 3200 meter athlete, I didn't have phenomenal speed in those longer races, but you at 9:58 as a junior, you have another year left. Trust me, the colleges will start looking at you, but just keep working on your speed, get down further down. If you can get down under 9:30, 9:20, don't think that's impossible. I mean, 9:15, it can happen for you. So you're well on your way. Very well done so far too. Let me see here. Hey, you're welcome, LJ. Ivan, don't forget to like this video. My runner's trying 32 runners and only 4 likes. Hey man, I appreciate the support, Ivan. Yeah, if you guys can like the videos, yeah, I definitely appreciate it. Hitting like, a lot of times it just triggers the YouTube algorithm. So, it does help for sure. So I definitely appreciate it. Hey, my mom's on the stream. Gotta give some love to my mom. Mom, good to see you. You and your birds. Love the birds. Let's see, how much mileage should a freshman do for a 440 mile? Man, when you're in high school, it's not so much you don't need to get too hyped up with mileage in high school. I just think, because even when I was in high school, I don't think I wish one of the things that I regret is I didn't keep my logs all through high school, college, and when I was running professionally. I do remember some of the workouts I was doing for sure, but that's one of the regrets I have. Make sure that you continue as a high school athlete, or even as you're going into college or competing on the roads outside of college. Make sure you write down all the workouts, because you can look back and you say, this is exactly what I was doing. But let's see. But in terms of mileage for a sub 440 mile, usually between 25 and 40 miles a week it can be done. It's just, again, it's what percentage of that weekly volume are you really training at 70-second quarter speed? And as a high school athlete, really, it's just, you don't have to be doing really long runs, but you do have to doing like repeat 200s down at like 420 mile pace, repeat 300s, doing repeat 400s at maybe 425 to 430 mile pace. Those are key. Making sure that you are spending some time each week running far below that 440 mile pace goal. And doing tempo runs, it might be at like 520 to 530 mile pace. Again, that's going to build your stamina that you're going to need in that race. And breaking 440, again, if you can get through, try to run a negative split. If you're not going, don't go out the first 800 meters of your mile at like 210, because that is definitely going to, decrease the likelihood of you running a 439. I think if you can go out at 222, 223 for the first 800, even if it feels slow, you'll be able to pick up the pace. You'll really be able to hammer that third lap and really be able to pick up the pace in the last, 600 meters of the race. But again, mileage, I say for a high school athlete, in most cases, most of the time, most high school athletes, they're running 25, 50 miles a week, 40 miles a week. So around there. So yeah, keep up the great work. Definitely keep me posted on how you're doing. Dump shot for sure. I know you can get under 440. That's a very fast time, but if you run it smart, you'll do it. Hey coach, I ran a 2:39 marathon off a 1:15:30 half a few weeks previous. I appreciate it's big jump, but what kind of half marathon would you reckon I need to think about to run 2:30? Let me see. I'll look at that up. I think just off guess, I'm guessing you need to run. Let's see. I'm gonna look it up, but I'd say probably around 112 to 113. I may be off, but I'll find out here. Let me see. Let's see, 2:29:59. Let's just make it a 2:30 marathon. Okay, yeah, a little faster. A 2:29:59 marathon, that's an equivalent to a 1:11:36 half marathon. So, and you're running, and again, I do look at the calculators because it does give you a general indication of what you can do. That 1:15:30. See, I ran a 2:39 marathon off a 1:15:30 half. I look this up again here. See, 1:15:30. So your 1:15:30 half marathon, again, it's equivalent to a 2:37:54 for the full marathon. So again, it's somewhat close. It's a little off, but I'd say anywhere from a very high 111 to 113 is what you need to be thinking about to break 230. Yeah, because holding two consecutive 115 flats, 114.59s in a row, yeah, you got to make sure that you get that half a little bit faster. But you're on your way. You're definitely on your way. And very good job running 239, 115. You got to be in great shape to do it. But yeah, going from 239 to 230, it's definitely possible. Hey, coach, I ran 46-minute 10K 2 months ago. Okay, nice work. Taking the next 8 weeks off due to it. Okay, my question is, after I'm healed, would you recommend I jump into training plan for 130? Good question. Let me, while we're on this, take a look. So you ran a 46-minute 10K. You're aiming for 130. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say that's not outside of what you're capable of for sure. I definitely think that you're doing the right thing, taking 8 weeks off. No sense in trying to train through any type of injury, but yeah, hope you enjoy the time away. You get healed up and get in great shape and start that 130 sub 130 half marathon build up. I would do if you really want to do it right, like I said in past videos, man, do 20 to 24 weeks. Give yourself 5 to 6 months. Really allow yourself time to adapt to what you're throwing at yourself, and don't. And again, it just takes off more mental stress off the athlete, because again, you're not cramming all of your training. You're not trying to run super fast in like 8 weeks or 12 weeks. You're giving yourself 5 to 6 months to do this right. A lot of times for a lot of athletes, I've done it, they need a full year to really get in the type of shape to race a marathon. Sometimes it takes a year of training. I don't mean you train 12 months without a break. There are some 1 week breaks here or there. It might be 2 weeks off, 2 weeks to a month off in that entire 12-month block. But in some cases, that's the smartest decision. Not trying to do too much in a too short amount of time. So, but yeah, great job so far, man. YG, you're on your way. 46 minutes is very, very strong, very solid effort, and I definitely think you can get under 130. One boy lately ran a half marathon, got a nasty injury on race day. Feels like all my prep was wasted. 115 half marathon is pro athlete, right? In my opinion, I mean, yeah, it really is. It's not, everybody's got their own viewpoint of what a pro athlete is, what an elite athlete is, but the average athlete, is not running a 115 half marathon. It's on another level. I mean, you're running, what is it? 5:43 mile pace for 13.1 miles. You have to be in great anaerobic shape. You have to be in great aerobic shape to run that quick. And I would categorize it in getting closer to that elite level for sure. I mean, everybody's got their own viewpoint, but you have to go in steps, and you can't rush the process. It's just not going to happen quickly. But yeah, I would characterize it as that. Or YG, or slowly get some easy runs in and later on get a training plan for sub 130. Yeah, I do believe, yes, I would recommend for sure you spend minimum 4 to 8 weeks of aerobic mileage before you start into a specific block of training, because it's very hard to, if you haven't done any type of aerobic base and you just jump into a training system where they're asking you to do, you're doing workouts I'm asking you to do on the track or on the roads or tempo runs. If you haven't put any easy aerobic mileage in, you haven't built a foundation first, you're going to have a very hard time doing tempo runs. You're going to have a very hard time doing, repeat 800s or 600s. Just, it's not going to be an easy process. But if you have done that, if you've been smart and you have built some knowledge and you built your fitness, strengthen your tendons and your ligaments, you're going to be in much better shape. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, YG. James, Congrats on that 309, man. Yeah, I know that Boston, from what I heard, was rough. And 309, finishing that, you're still, everybody on the stream here. James is one of the very top masters runners we have in this country, and this guy held up in that heat, and definitely running 309 is awesome. Very well done, man. You'll be back well under 3 hours, man. You just got to get. Again, it's you just never know with Boston and Chicago, especially those two races, man. You just never know what you're going to get on the day. And yeah, I know it was rough. A couple of guys, actually, one of the guys that I train, he ran 340, no 326. It was pretty disappointing, but he's actually running the Wisconsin Marathon here. He was asking me, he's like, "Can I do? I know I could run much faster, but it was very hot that day. Do you think I can do it?" And he's really transitioning. He's doing very well. I was like, yes, going 3 weeks and running another marathon because you want to run a faster time, definitely still doable, but you have to be very cautious with that type of small amount of recovery there. But yeah, from what I heard, rough day, but you finished it, man. You did a real good job, man. 309 is no joke. It's awesome. One boy, I think in the last half marathon I ran can you suggest speed sessions? Yeah, I mean, going into the next block, like I said, I've always been a big believer in the during your long runs, if you can do like 10 to 12 1K reps at closer down toward 10K race pace, 10K to half marathon race pace with a 1K float, but running at, not at easy pace, but moderately hard even during that float. Again, build up to that. Your speed sessions, 16 to 2,400 meter reps. Running, in your case, you'd be aiming definitely running those efforts at like 235 to 240 marathon pace, significantly faster than of course what you ran there. But doing that, getting to a point where you can do 6 to 10, 1,600 meter reps on the track. These are things I would be doing for sure. I mean, especially the marathon distance, getting to a point where you can do that. Minimal rest, getting to a point where you're starting off maybe at 4 minutes of recovery between each one of your 1,600 meter reps, then working down to around between 2 to 2.5 minutes of recovery in between each one of the reps. And still working on the overall raw speed, repeat 200s, 300s, down toward your like 3K, 5K race pace. That's, very, very critical if you're going to continue to get faster. And James is another example. I mean, I don't know the exact age, but I think James is like 50. Correct me if I'm wrong, James, but I think you're like 52 or 51. But as you age, I mean, we can still run very fast times, even the 40s, 50s. It's just a matter of really paying attention to the recovery. I think as older athletes, you do have to pay more attention to how you're recovering after the workouts. And there's 53. Yeah. See, 53, folks. I mean, these guys dropping these times like 20, 30-year-old somethings out there, athletes out there that are trying to run. It still can be done. I mean, it's a perfect example. James is very consistent with his training, very focused, very driven. You all have that tenacity to get to the next level. So it's really just that smart training. Doing also, James, I mean, continue hill repetitions, 50 meter to 200 meter reps up, sprinting all out up hills, walking, giving yourself more recovery in the early build up, and then jogging on the way down. Again, because that's just forcing us to use different muscle groups that we're not going to be using on flat surfaces. And if you're training more over on hillier terrain too, that's, again, as Dr. Beal said, I mean, that is a form of strength training, and utilize that. Don't just get in the habit of just running on flat roads all the time. Even if you're training for a flat marathon, train on hills. Of course, if you're going to go to Sim or the California International Marathon, or if you're going to go to Boston, you definitely want to train on hills, but you are going to be so much stronger by doing those types of workouts versus the athlete that's just training on flat all the time. And if you live in Florida or you live in a flat where it's just constant flat terrain, find other avenues of getting beyond just running on flat. You can train on treadmills. that may be, somebody had asked that earlier about how do I train for a downhill marathon when I'm running in Florida. That is definitely something I didn't mention when I was referring to this question, but I would get on the treadmill and get the treadmill down on a negative incline and do some reps. Might be, if you're just going off of time, maybe like 2-minute reps going downhill on the incline. That's one other thing. Yeah, James Sim is definitely waiting for you, man. That is for sure. Make sure you are paying attention to, and I know you've probably already looked at the course layout and everything. It's similar to Boston too. It is it's deceiving. They say it's a net downhill course. I don't think it's fast, and I don't think yes, there is some downhills for sure, but I don't think it's a fast course at all. You can still run very fast there for sure, because there are sections where you can really make some big moves. The first mile is for the most part downhill. After the 10-mile point, there's a point right as you pass the 10-mile mark. You'll pass the 10-mile mark. You'll take a right-hand turn and you go straight down for, I'd say, probably 300 meters. Then it flattens back out and then goes back up and down. A lot of rolling hills on that course, but definitely definitely a great race to still run very fast at for sure. Let's see, John, tips on a 10K race in 4 weeks, trying to get under 40 minutes. Also ran 5 1-mile and 8 1K reps last week. Yeah, it sounds like you're in great shape, John, for sure. See, you got 4 weeks left. Ran 5 1-mile reps, a race pace last week. Continue to do what you're doing. I think that training at race pace is still you have to do that. Do also get down doing some repeat 300s, some repeat 400s, closer down 3K, 5K race pace. Really continue to really focus on training far below race pace as well. 10-day taper, do a 10-day taper. Don't start dropping your volume out till 10 days out. I think that will really help you more than likely not feel as tired going into the race. I think you'll feel more rested. Don't wait. Don't do your taper 3 weeks out. And again, it does work for some athletes. It's not like it's like a 3-week taper isn't going to work for every athlete. In most cases, it does. But I just know from experience and from the athletes that I coach and athletes that have followed the courses and the training plans, they really like that 10-day taper. It's just hard to hold off. You feel like you're, the taper phase, as we all know, it's probably one of the hardest parts of training because you feel like you're getting out of shape, because you're not doing as much volume, you're not doing as many workouts. But if you can just play cool and do a 10-day taper, I think you're going to go in, you're going to definitely run a sub 40-minute 10K time. And if you can do a 5 1-mile rep workout and an 8 1K rep workout at race pace, you're in phenomenal shape. That's what 5 miles you're doing, basically 2 5-mile workouts at race pace. So you're already basically running the same pace, the same type of effort you need to. Now it's just a matter of continue to heighten and improve the lactate tolerance and being able to sustain that race pace, because you're giving yourself some recovery in between each one of those reps that you're not going to get in the race. So, but the good thing is you're going to have the competition. You're more than likely, maybe you're doing those workouts solo. I always tell athletes, man, I know it's hard to go out there and do workouts by yourself, but if you're doing those workouts by yourself with nobody else to help you, you're going to be dangerous. You're going to be fully ready when you have some other athletes out there, because you've spent so much time really, doing tempo runs on your own, doing those track sessions, those 5-mile reps, those 8 1K reps by yourself without anybody to help you. When you go in and you go in on tapered legs, you're going to feel great, John. I think that you're on your way for sure. But again, continue to really work on the speed. Some very light, moderately hard workouts, even those in those 10 days leading into the marathon, just as reminders, not so much that's going to stress you out and fatigue you going into your goal 10K race. But again, 4 days out from the 10K race, I would do a 2-mile run at goal 10K race pace. and that's it. 1 mile warm up, 2 miles at goal 10K pace, 1 mile cool down. And those 3 days leading in, just light jogging, some light strides. Continue to visualize yourself and really prepare mentally as well, and hydrate and carb load that full week going in that 10K. Yeah, you're definitely gonna do it. Hey, Skylar, thanks. Let's see. Think I could go sub 35 in the 10K off a 120 half. Let's see. Think I could go sub 35 in the 10K off a 120 half. And yeah, I think you could. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna see something here. Give me just a second. I think I could go 120 half. Let's see, 120 half. Question is, see, I think you're around sub 35. So yeah, your 120 half, I mean, that's equivalent to a 36:11 10K. So it's definitely possible for you to get under 35 with some competition, and you've tapered correctly. And yeah, that's and you did it in windy conditions. Yeah, absolutely. I think you could. CML, do I have to race? Could I train to improve threshold? For example, doing 2 summer months and jump into an 8-week of 10K training in the fall for a race. Do I have to race? Could I? No, you don't have to race. No. I mean, one of the athletes I competed with in the Army, his name's Wayne Blas. He does enormous amount of volume. He's a 2:29 marathoner, Guam national record holder for the marathon. A lot of times he doesn't do a lot of races prior to his marathons. He just does some incredible consistent training in training. But you can do time trials and training. You don't necessarily have to go out and race. I mean, of course, getting out there and competing against other athletes that are, potentially at your level or faster is going to be helpful. But use some time trials, and I do think that what you're doing there, you mentioned doing some build up leading into, could I train to improve threshold, for example, during 2 summer months and jump into 8 weeks of 10K? Yes. If you're doing some threshold training and you're doing that for 8 weeks, then you go into, or 2 months, and then you go into an 8-week specific block of training. That's the way I would do it. I mean, I would not just jump into an 8-week block. Very, very hard to get in great shape in 8 weeks, especially race shape, speed shape. Yeah, you're welcome, John. Yeah, keep up the great work, man. Definitely keep me posted too. Oh, I missed the live. No, Sam, you're all right, Coach. I don't care about to be fast. I have time. I need train. Yep, I need to train the whole day. I have time. It's third season of running. Last year I was running 120 kilometers a week. Okay, I need to escape bad thoughts. Yeah, I hear where you come from, Sam. It's, if you have the time. I mean, a lot of times a lot of athletes don't have that luxury that you as well as I. I mean, I'm retired, but out of the military, but I'm able to train now full time. I had one time when I was in the Army where I was able to train full time, but I actually ran my best times when I was working a full time job. So I think that there's pros and cons to both of them. A lot of athletes think, "Oh man, if I just had the time to train full time and I didn't have any other stresses, maybe I would run faster." Not always the case. A lot of times that structure is helpful for sure. But if you have the extra time, you can, in your case, if you feel in bad thoughts, you can escape that and just get out and get moving. A lot of times it's just changing your state, if you feel really tired, get up and move a little bit and or even just go out and walk, and just get beyond just, resting, you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely know. So I don't care about, don't care about being fast. I just need to train the whole day. I have time. Yeah. Felt like my calves felt like plates. Yeah, if your calves feel real tight, and I've had issues with my calves over the year, protein is expensive. Yeah, it can be. But in terms of your calves, if you have access to a mesotherapist or a physical therapist, physical therapists can do dry needling, and I found that is really helpful to loosen up your calves. They'll stick the needles, a lot like acupuncture. They'll stick the needles in the tight area of your calf, and you will definitely feel it when they put the needle in the tight area of your calf. but I found that usually about 48 hours to 72 hours after that particular procedure, there's hardly any tightness after that. And then there's other remedies out there too. No, by the foam, yeah, foam roller, yeah, foam roller is great. Plate straightening moves, okay, yeah, Pilates, plates straight stretching moves, yeah, foam roller is great too for sure. A lot of times he said protein, yeah, protein is expensive for sure at times. It sounds like you're doing everything right. Your volume is very high. That's good though. If you can handle that and you have the time, that's great. A lot of these athletes, you're getting up 120 to 200 plus kilometers a week. It's time consuming, but you can definitely put in the work. You have any big races coming up that you're aiming for? Like a marathon or a 10Ks, or just focused on consistent training? And hope this year I'm not running more than 60K more than a week. Okay. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times, yeah, a lot of athletes will do much better on lower mileage rather than high. I mean, this higher volume isn't a guarantee that you're gonna run faster, or race faster. If you can run lower mileage, a lot of times it's much easier mentally, physiologically, it's a lot easier. Okay, no half marathons, but I'm not serious, and it's on September. Okay, yeah, just getting out there and being able to compete and have a good time and start and finish it. Yeah, I hear you. That's great. I wish you the best in September. Which half marathon is there? Are you in Europe or here in the States? Okay, in Turkey. Okay, good deal. Oh, Izmir. Yeah, Izmir. I think that I'm not sure if are you the if I did get an email from somebody from Turkey. I'll respond to it. I believe that was you. Um, and it may not be you, but if it's not, I apologize. If it's not you, I apologize. But I got an email from somebody from Turkey that wanted me to assist him in his training, so I'll be responding to him too. It's fast track. Okay, good stuff. All right, team. Well, hey, I'm gonna sign off for today. Hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday and great week of training coming up. And hopefully this session has helped you all out in terms of the questions. As you always know, I mean, you guys are always come with the great questions. So hopefully, my viewpoints helped in some way. Hope you enjoy the rest of the evening and also the videos that are coming up for next week as well. That'll be helpful for you in your training. So yeah, talk to you guys all next weekend at 5 p.m. All right. Take care.